YouTube. It's been a while. A couple of weeks since my last video when I brought you my spectacular Blessed Warrior custom-made fighting knife. I have some ongoing issues with a family member being ill, and I'm responsible for taking care of her for the most part, and it makes it hard to do a video. But here I am. And today, I'm going to buy you a knife that I've actually had for a while and practiced with quite a bit. It is an MTech. I think I've brought you another tech before, or at least mentioned them. MTechs are hit and miss with me. I've had 3 hits, 2 misses, and a possible miss. I just bought a mix, a possible miss. I just bought another MTech last week, an impulse buy for $15. It has its positive side, but I don't know how it's going to handle testing. I don't know if it's actually a knife you can use. It might be an MTech miss. Now, I am right on top of the camera this time. It's probably only a little over a foot away from me, and I'm hoping to overcome, and I am remembering to speak up, hopefully, I'm hoping to overcome my problem with my audio. It looks like I'm going to have to buy a new camera to really fix that issue. I'm going to have to get a camera with a better mic, but I'm hoping that you'll be able to hear me since I am right on top of the camera. Alright, with that said, here is the MTech Extreme MX8090BK. And BK is for black. They also have a satin finish version of this, which one day I might pick up. 13 inches overall, 5mm thick full-tang blade, 7-inch black drop point blade, 19mm thick G10 handle, and includes a MOLLE compatible sheath. We'll talk about the sheath in a minute. But here is the knife. Get it all off frame. I love the lines of this knife. I am pretty sure they ripped it off from a Bill Johnson custom design. Bill Johnson does a lot of really beautiful knives with this design that I will never ever be able to afford, barring a lottery win. So I had to settle for this. But I like this knife. This is actually one of the favorite knives in my collection. This is probably in my top 5 out of my 80+ knives. Yeah, it's an MTech, but it's a nice MTech. I have taken this out to the war post several times already. I practice with it regularly. I like its balance. I like its feel for the most part. It's got this gorgeous recurve on it. So if I ever did have to fight any zombie lizardman ninjas or lizard ninja man zombies, one can be more dangerous than the other. This recurve would give me a good bite on that blade. It feels good. It's another sub-hilt. I love sub-hilts. It feels good. The G10 is thick. It's well constructed. There's no rattle. Fit and finish are okay. There is one major fit problem, if you can call that major. And let's see, let's get that right here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but there is a bit more space between the handle scales and the sub-hilt than they should be, and they kind of filled that in with glue. You're not going to see that unless you look really close. I have used this for practice. It handles very nicely. I can't really swing because I am so close to the camera so you can hear me, hopefully. But it has held up the war post. I'm going to do some extra stuff with it. I might hit it extra hard just for the sake of testing. But this is a recurve fighting knife. That's what it's for. So they used to be, when I bought this, they actually called this an outdoor knife. Well, I guess it's an outdoor knife if you take it outdoors, but it's not really good for much for camping. It's really thin in the spine, so if you try to baton with it, it'll probably just chop up your baton. The thickness is in the center of the blade, right, to give it strength and to make it a better thrusting weapon. It's a weapon. And no, nobody wants to admit it, weapons, because YouTube's algorithms might flag it. Well, I'm not getting monetized anyway, so here you go. No, it's nimble. It's got a lot of weight in the back and very little, and not so much weight in the blade. So it's nimble. Things that would improve. I would round off these edges right along here, because they kind of do bite into the hand just a little bit, in my opinion. If they would just kind of round this off, or even flatten it out so it has more of an angle and doesn't dig into your hands, particularly with the sub-hilt, the way this thing is so sharp, it kind of digs into the thumb. And also the edges here and here all over could be rounded off. This would be nicer. It looks good. It looks better this way. It would be more functional rounded off. Other than that, I really like the design of this knife. I just think these lines and these curves are simple and elegant, and simplicity and elegance are what I look for in a knife design, other than functionality. Functionality is first. Well, not always. Sometimes I do just buy something in a collection. I get a collector's armory or something like a replica armory or something like Armory Replicas, that's it. Armory Replicas knife I just bought for $10 because I didn't have anything that looked like it in the collection, and it looked pretty cool. And it, as a tool or even a weapon, it's pretty much useless. Alright, the sheath what this thing came from, and I don't have the right sheath with me. Oh, and I'm not going to go look for it. But the sheath is pretty much what you'd expect from a budget knife. It's a nylon sheath. It is MOLLE compatible. I will dig it up and show you the sheath on the wrap-up segment of this video. But it's MOLLE compatible, but the stitching isn't that great. It's riveted in places, I think. But quite frankly, it wouldn't hold up to any day-to-day use for more than a couple of days. Not a really good sheath. And that's not uncommon. You knife guys out there know that a lot of the times when you get an inexpensive knife, it's not that they cut corners on the knife so much as they cut corners on the sheath. And MTech really cuts corners on their sheaths. Their sheaths are usually worthless. So if I were to decide that I was going to carry this and rely on it for anything, I would either make or have made a Kydex or quality leather sheath, because the sheath it's come with is no good. Alright, we're going to go out to the war post and do what the Survival on Purpose what Survival on Purpose says. I'm going to edit all that out. We're going to go out to the war post and do what Survival on Purpose calls knife stuff, except my knife stuff is different than his knife stuff. So there you go, folks. Hopefully we'll be able to hear me better this time. Okay, we are at the war post, and we will put the M10 Extreme, whatever model number it is, I already told you about that, to the test. And I did find the substandard sheath for it. Not too bad. We'll keep going.
Alright. Okay, you can see I bashed that around pretty good. I'm going to go good for a hard crust here. And see about the tip. Now this one didn't stick in there and stay like my custom built job did. So we'll try an overhand and see if we can come in back in and see if we can get it to do that. I think the blade, for one thing, is too thick for that. Too thin for that, I mean. And I'm sharply giving too much. Now there you go. Staying there on its own horizontally, and that's in there a good half an inch. Now we'll see if we can bend the tip. And no, we did. Now of course I could have pried a lot more with that, but it's really not designed for that. So beat it up pretty good. No edge roll. Now I had sharpened this before, so but it came decently sharp out of the box. Not shaving sharp, but service sharp. Okay, now that I've slammed it up against the war post for a while, got this Y thing here. We're going to see if we can't just take this off of there, hopefully with one whack. This little branch here. No, got a good solid cut in on it. We'll see if we can't get it off of there. Fighting back. Well, for a knife that's not designed to chop, and considering I was just holding it like this and it wasn't really all of that sturdy, a post, it came out pretty well, don't you think? Okay. Got one more thing we're going to try and we'll go in and wrap up. As usual, we have to see after it goes through all that other stuff, will it make a vampire deterrent? And after all that chopping, this is 440C steel, so after all that chopping for a blade this thin and not made to chop, it's cutting pretty well. This is really rubbery wood. So, but here we have our decent vampire deterrent. And we'll go in and now do final thoughts. Alright. Get the knife back in my hand here. And I did find the sheath, so I'll go over that in a minute. But you saw, we'll get it up here again. It took a pretty good beating. No edge roll. And that was a dried up maple sapling that I de-limbed. Now that first cut did go in really deep, but because it was sharp, it was very narrow, and it was hard to get in the same thing again, and with just holding it the way it was. And that was a really sloppy job of chopping because I didn't have it braced well. But it did what it was supposed to do, right? So I can't really see this. Let's put it this way: there would be a lot better things to take camping or on the trail or anything with you.
like a lot of my knives in my collection, is primarily a weapon. Just because how thin the spine is, excuse me, I've got a bad nasal problem all of a sudden, and I'm going to have to take care of that. But it's so thin that it would just chew up whatever you were trying to baton with. As a matter of fact, it would not take long at all with a file or a grinder to turn it into a double-edged blade, but I think that would ruin it, but some people might want to like it that way. After all of that, everything is solid. And this is not, like I said, this is not the first time it has faced the war post. And also, after smacking around like that, look at the black coating. I've said it before. I've had knives with black coatings that wouldn't stand up to half of that. As a matter of fact, I have an Ontario, which is a much better respected company than MTech, and a knife that I haven't had as long, this Ontario Utilitac, and you can see that the black coating is coming off, and it started to come off within weeks after I got this thing. Now this is a $26 knife, but it's Ontario, and I actually expected better from Ontario. Now I'll probably review this knife eventually, do a full review on it, because it is a nice knife. It feels great in the hand. It's very tight. It's a well-made knife. But even for $26, I expected more from Ontario than to have the coating start coming off within days. So, I'm going to put that back on my belt here. And, you know, it chopped through a fairly substantial maple branch there, smacked around on the war post, made a vampire deterrent, and like I said, I've used this before. And it came through okay. So, I don't know what else you could expect. You could probably use this for light camp work if you had to. They are calling it now just a fixed blade knife. I'm pretty sure that when I bought it about a year ago, they were saying this was an outdoor knife. And I don't know exactly what an outdoor knife is. I don't know what the definition of that would be. But if this is all you had, and you were just going to do light camping or trail work, that's fine. But this is a fighting knife. And if you were able to carry something like this in your profession, military, law enforcement, or something like that, and you might have to defend your life with it, it would work. Are there a lot of things out there that would be much better? Absolutely. But you could also do a lot worse. Now we'll do the sheath. Here it is. And here it is, coming apart. And like I said, I had this for a while, and I had another YouTube channel called The Fighting Nerd, where I did a mix of like sci-fi reviews and fantasy reviews and knife stuff, Fighting Nerd. And it didn't go very well, so I just decided to put that channel in abeyance. And I wore this around for maybe 2 or 3 days. I wore the knife around in this sheath, because if you're reviewing a knife, you have to review the sheath, right? And I wanted to see how the sheath would hold up. And I didn't run out in the woods with it. And as a matter of fact, this was before I got hurt, before I had to start walking with a cane. I didn't run around out in the woods with it. I didn't do anything. I wore it around the house. I was wearing it while I was doing some yard work. And the stitches started coming out almost immediately. Now the design of the sheath is actually pretty cool. It's got the molly straps. It's got the little utility pouch to stick whatever in. And it's not bad in concept. Now it has 2 retaining straps. It only needs 1. I can't imagine why they have 2. Now these are kind of removable, I guess. you can remove part of it anyway. I guess maybe it's for adjusting it or something, because they come off with Velcro, like so. But this one is absolutely unnecessary. Once you have this one in there, the knife doesn't flop around. It holds it in. It holds it in, and it's not a problem. And it does fit the sheath very well. The knife does fit the sheath very well. And it really doesn't matter which way you put it in. But once you have it in here like so, it's not going to jangle. Now, it may fall out a little bit this way without that second retaining strap. So I guess if you're going to have it upside down on your molly, you're going to need this. But if you're going to have it upside down on your molly, it means you want to get it out quick, right? So just not use this one, use this one. One or the other is what I'm saying. But the biggest thing is that it's very poorly sewn. The threads are thin. If I were going to carry this and I had to use this sheath, what I would probably do is just take some super glue and go all up and down the seams to hold the threads in. And if you use enough super glue, I've found over the years that it will actually go through the pores of, I guess they're called pores, but the gaps in between the weaving of the nylon and bond. But you shouldn't have to. Now also, most MTechs come in at about 20 bucks. Sometimes a lot cheaper than that. This is going, I believe, for like $40. Let me check. Excuse me. $30.20. So it's still a budget knife, but it's getting to the point where I wouldn't call it budget. If I start spending $50 for a knife, to me that's not a lot of money, but it's not a little money either. When I bought this, it was $36, so it's actually come down in price. But for $36, better sheath, guys. I gotta tell you, for the knife to me is a home run. I like the design. Very few things wrong with the design. Fit and finish are adequate. The finish is actually pretty good considering what this coating has stood up to and stayed on. But the sheath, man, you're gonna have to get if you're going to be using this and carrying it for real, you're really going to need a decent sheath. So that's it for the MTech USA Extreme MX 8090BK fixed blade knife. I can recommend the knife, but you're going to want to get a different sheath. And with that said, please like, share, subscribe if you think I deserve it. And remember, draw your knives only in just purpose. Sheathe them only with honor. And also to remember that without knives, life would be dull and pointless. This is the Nutty Knife Guy bidding you good night.